JK42B, thanks to €2. The new vid of What If Alt Hiss blackpilled me so hard. I haven't seen it yet. Is that the one where it's like basically stop coping, your life is meaningless or something? It had like a hardcore fucking title. I wouldn't even need to have Doomer Hour if I'm assuming that video would cover Doomer Hour.
If you realized how little you knew about yourself, you would be in complete shock. All knowing comes from comparison. You only truly know who you are until you know what you're not. Our era of history does so much evil through purposely obfuscating who we are comparing ourselves to. We judge everything through the eye of utopia, or the best possible option, rather than comparing ourselves to other eras of real history. Once you control the frame, you control literally everything. We will circle back to this point as it will gradually make more sense later. With all that being said, the thesis of this video is that your life is vastly harder than you imagine. We will go through the life of the average WhatIfAltHist fan to show how their life is actually incredibly difficult. I think people are really suffering now and are in serious denial about it. The human mind's capability for denial or coping is enormous, and I think we are all coping as individuals right now. In fact, I think we are the era of history which is coping the most ever, as I will explain later. This video will go through every aspect of an average person's life, whether
I'm wondering if I should take cope off the blacklist right now. I put cope on the word blacklist because I was getting annoyed at people saying it all the time for no reason. Here, I'll take it off. Hold on. I'm sure people will want to say cope since we're watching a video that, you know, he says cope a lot. Okay, I've taken all variations of cope off of the block list.
their economic, social, spiritual, physical, and other aspects to show that normal young people live terrible lives holistically. This will upend a lot of assumptions that people have built their own personal lives on, that modernity is objectively superior to every other era of history. The difference between mental stability and madness is a handful of intellectual pillars that hold up your world. What happens when those pillars have rotted through? The short answer is that our comprehension of the world and the human condition is simply not accurate. According to SAW, an acronym I invented for Studies in Ancient Wisdom, which I will explain later, is the convergence between what ancient folkways and world religions have taught across all of history, which very much converges with recent scientific studies.
The funny thing about this is a leftist will simply just stop listening and be like, well, yeah, well, all those times in history were sexist and racist. You would listen to those, you fucking bigot. I mean, that's legit. Like, it's so easy for them to just completely shut down having to listen to their betters. And let's be clear, it's definitely their betters. Okay? No. No, they want to listen to the government and corporations, and that's it. It's just peer pressure on a global scale.
Is in the 21st century, that human nature is not at all what the 20th century and what our background believes. Once you understand the true nature of human nature, the horror of what our society is doing is so astounding. It will leave you breathless.
Volume's too low.
One of the major themes we'll get into with this video.
I fucked up the audio on this part.
Debt is a huge issue.
Well, my right ear likes it anyway.
The average American having $100,000 worth of debt of a variety of kinds. Well, keep in mind, a normal...
Yeah, people shouldn't have fallen for the college scam. Well, the thing is, people noticed way too late that basically anybody with special protected status was given scholarships and far lower requirements to enter these colleges, and all of the industries were only hiring these protected status people and not white people. So yeah, there's plenty of white men who either have useless degrees or, you know, can't get hired in their field even if they're more talented than the people being hired.
Normal American makes something
I
like
didn't go to college, and
$50,000
I've
a
never
year.
regretted it, I'll
And
be honest.
debt is insane.
With it
The
only being
average
1
What If
year.
Altist fan, this video is written like a game of Go. Go is a Chinese game that goes back at least 4,000 years, in which you try to surround an enemy force to wipe them out. It plays into Chinese military strategy, as famously championed by Sun Tzu, which prizes indirect tactics and fighting through omission as an explicit strategy. Although I don't think most of you would agree with this point initially, by gradually moving through all the intellectual bases, we can surround the argument. In fact, I think this is how all worldviews are constructed. We tend to view the creation of our worldview, in which our civilization is currently built off ideas like feminism, liberalism, science, or meritocracy, was created through rationalistic scientific study, that social scientists ran rigorous tests in which they steel-manned the case and looked at all the opposing options and used the results to construct a comprehensive vision of the world. The reality is the complete opposite, in which over the course of the 20th century, our worldview, based under such assumptions.
This is interesting. Let's read some of this. So here's my rough attempt to make a meta-narrative map of the world. So with the Western world, we have postmodern, let's support BIPOC queers. Modernist, let's get rich is Mexico and a bunch of South America. I can't really read that. Is that Congregationist right there? Is that Venezuela? Let's see, a modernist, let's get rich is Eastern Europe and Russia and China. Let's see, Islam, there's one God in Muhammad. Tribal Christian, Jesus is the strongest magician. So wait, that's Africa. Tribal Christian, Jesus is the strongest magician. Okay. India is Hindis and Lord Vishnu. And then let's see, communist. Fuck, that's so low quality. He should have got a higher quality image. Communist something, the proletariat. Okay. Interesting.
Like men and women being the same, natural equality, the blank slate, or the noble savage were just assumed to be correct. Anyone who disagreed with these ideas was shamed and kicked out of society. This was since it was inside the self-interest of those in power to believe these things. When we did test them in the early 21st century, we realized that they were completely incorrect. The way people build worldviews instead is that their worldview needs to make sense for the facts they know and the things that happen to them in their daily lives.
Sorry, I'm not the brightest crayon in the box, but I don't understand what exactly the difference is between doomers and black pills. They're the same. They're pretty much the same. The difference is black pill has more of a association with incels, so people will say doomer instead, but they're pretty similar.
The medieval Aristotelian worldview collapsed as they
Brian C, thanks for $5. College was the ultimate psyop, feed propaganda to easily influence teens. Well, let's have boomer parents that went for cheap, encourage it equals big profit. Yeah, for sure. Yep, that was such a massive scam. It's sad.
There were too many facts that it was clear that the wise ancients were unaware of, whether the existence of the Americas, the scientific method, gunpowder, and they were very clearly wrong on stuff like the human body or physics. Then people gradually look for a new worldview which can encompass the facts. Once the new worldview hits critical mass explanatory power, people accept it unconditionally. Once a new worldview hits critical explanatory power for the lives of the people in it, people will accept it unconditionally, living and breathing its assumptions. Kuhn invented this theory of history called paradigms. However, this process is in no way rational.
How death ushers in new intellectual orders, Black Death before the Renaissance and Reformation, the 30 Years' War for the Enlightenment and Science, French Revolution, Napoleonic Wars for industrialization and romanticism, the World Wars for social justice and digital revolution. Whatever crisis is going to happen now. I see. But yeah. I guess it depends on what the conclusion of the current crisis, however long it's going to be, what our overlords with 3 parentheses decide is going to be the new world order, basically. It depends on who wins, I guess, but either they're on both sides. So unless there was a ethnic targeted attack, which I just don't see happening, considering they have thoroughly propagandized anti-racism into everyone's brains. I get the feeling they're probably, still going to be in charge at the end of whatever this is.
Fully, it's accompanied by bloody wars in which the new order kills off the old. Even with irrefutable evidence, the old generations die with the old ideas. As the saying goes, science advances one grave at a time. The old order gradually dies as there are too many examples of the theory not working. Like a game of Go, you gradually surrounds the old paradigm, with the final execution being a quiet moment, after which the theory is discredited over a long period of time, losing its vitality. The central koan, which is a concept from Zen Buddhism for a question that pondering will result in you getting the answer for this video, is how is the 21st century West the wealthiest, safest, most hygienic, peaceful, best fed, and best educated society in world history, but its inhabitants score the worst on mental wellness tests of, again, anyone in history. The society itself suffers crippling depression and
Okay, so over the last 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by following problems? Feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. Okay, so we got Gen Z, Millennial, Gen X, Boomer, Silent. Okay. See, I told you fucking cucks I'm a millennial. Anyway, so feeling nervous, anxious, or on edge. Yeah, 61% Gen Z, 53% Millennial, 40% Gen X, 28% Boomers. Feeling down, depressed, or hopeless. I told you guys, Gen Z, they're the ultimate fucking doomers. They just hide it. Excuse me. They hide it socially. You can tell in the videos, man. I'm not saying not everyone is fit for the path of the black pill for sure. But I feel like, at least for someone like me, it's much more comfortable to know the truth of things than to wonder how it all went so wrong and like what is wrong with you or whatever. If you just know the current state of society and things make sense, then you know why everything's so fucked, you know? This is interesting though. There's slightly more Gen X or depressed than millennials. I would not guess that in the least bit. I wonder who was what's this poll data, like how many people, what's the sample size? I know he's just kind of posting an image. People did this shit when I was talking about they're retards obviously, but the people, when I said the lowest rate of divorce was between black female, white male couples, there were people who challenged that, and it's like, what do you mean? Like that, I thought that was basically, I mean, it's not necessarily common knowledge, but it's like steel manning a left-wing position. So why would you challenge me on something that, if anything, helps your argument? I don't know. People were faggots. I'll just say it. The Fallout video, a bunch of cocksuckers. Anyway, so let's see. Thoughts that you would be better off dead, or thoughts of hurting yourself in some way? 80% Gen Z, 10% Millennial. Yeah, okay. So this seems mostly about right, except we're just right in the middle here.
Anxiety, ADHD, suicide, and other mental conditions you could possibly list. This has in turn resulted in the democratically elected Western governments publicly
My
committing
data's
suicide,
outdated? I don't think
through
it
printing
is.
infinite money, discouraging
I haven't
births,
seen anything to the
degrowing the
contrary.
industrial economy, encouraging mental illness,
That's because of so
crime,
few
and
relationships with white male, black, or black female. Oh yeah, of course. Oh, gee, why do you think there's so few? Why do you think there's so few?
a dozen other things. The abbreviated version of
There's
this
not nearly as many of black male, white female as you would think, by the way. The fucking toucan propaganda, some of these fucking cuckold subhumans need to stop fucking watching their gay porn. And because it is gay porn, let's be real, it's gay. I don't care if there's a woman in it. It's definitely homosexual. Cuckoldry is homosexual, but whatever, let's just keep going.
WhatIfAltHist's is,
I
why
don't
is
wanna
the
get into
wealthiest
this.
society ever also the most unhappy? This question is of the highest importance, since nested inside it is the question that if we don't answer, will kill our society. It already is, but we don't want to know the answer yet. We'd rather commit suicide as a civilization, since
Also a bit of a normie where I don't get the difference between doom or black pill, that you champion the nihilism you're against. You can absolutely be black pilled and not be nihilistic. Life absolutely has purpose. The black pilled and the doomer understand that that purpose is not for them. Now, you know, if we're talking about the incel black pilled, it's because they would say that they're ugly, or because, well, ugly, short, thoroughly autistic, one of those things for sure. For me, I just feel like in normal circumstances, I would probably be married by now. But unfortunately, you know, my life path just didn't happen that way. Now I'm thoroughly fucked in the head. So, you know, it doesn't help that the relationships between men and women are so thoroughly just tattered, frayed. You know, it's in a really bad state because of online dating. I don't want to talk about it. That's not even the type of thing this video is about right now. But let's just say I'm not nihilistic because life does have purpose, but I can't get that purpose, which is why I'm sad. There you go.
since the pain of letting go is so hard, the fundamental answer is that something is very, very wrong in our culture. That the materialistic assumptions which underlie every thought in our culture are just wrong. Man is not nourished by wealth, but by love in his soul. Asking this question is the only fighting.
Who would you marry if this ain't real? Mr. E, you retarded faggot. Let me just, I said F slurred twice, is the drinking. But you have fetishes. Mr. E, tell us your fetishes. And if you would honestly fucking tell me that you want your deepest, darkest fetish in real life, you're the fucking weirdo, not me, okay? There's many, many people who are like, no, my fetish is clearly degenerate, pornographic shit that my brain has been manipulated to be attracted to, okay? That's literally it. And there's millions of people just like me, because I hear fucking people talk about this shit constantly. Constantly. If you're the weirdo who's like, I want feet on my face, I want to eat her poop, you are a subhuman. You are a bug. You need to have your fucking penis locked in a chastity cage until you can get your brain right, okay? Me, I compartmentalize these things, as one should. So, oh, hold on, I missed a few super chats anyway. Vobelstone 74, thanks for $5. Please watch Spirit of Fire collides with the Covenant Strike. God, we're not doing a video watching segment. I was gonna end the stream after this. And it's one of the greatest cutscenes. I've seen all the cutscenes. I played all the Halo games. When I said I don't really play Halo, I mean I just don't play the multiplayer. When I said it earlier, I mean shit. You watch my Halo reviews. I played all the games. Actually, I haven't played Halo 5, but I'm never playing Halo 5. Why would I? Geralt Z Rivi, it's Geralt of Rivia, I guess. Thanks to the 100 rupees. If you believe in God, you will never truly be fully black-pilled. Imagine being among 12 apostles and whining, I'm so black-pilled right now, for real, for real. I'm sorry, I just am not going to surround myself in delusion. Like, I have no reason to believe any of that shit. If someday, you know, something feels like a sign from God, maybe I'll convert, but that certainly has never happened in my life. Ryan C, thanks for $5. College was oh wait, I read that one. Okay, so I just missed 2 before.
Chance our people have for survival. To start this story, let's look at the life of the average WhatIfAltHist fan. We'll look at every single aspect of their lives to gradually see what is wrong with the world today. This person is of course imaginary, but there's often greater truth in an imaginary symbol than in the real world, given the symbol can elegantly encompass truths far more complex than anything else. Also, having met hundreds of people in this audience, the WhatIfAltHist audience is holistically better off than the general public. And I say this because it's true, not to flatter you folks, but the WhatIfAltHist audience is...
Okay, is it time for another religious fight? You fucks are doing the exact same things the leftists do. You believe in shit with no evidence that does nothing for your life. except delude yourself with a cope. It is the ultimate cope. It has in no way done anything tangible for you at any point in existence, and you have to convince yourself that it has. If you're a fucking doomer and a Christian, like, are you just retarded? I mean, did you hit your fucking head? Like, what do you mean? When you go outside and you go on your daily life, you're like, oh yes, God is watching over you. No, the best you can hope for is that you go to heaven, that your suffering on this world meant something, that, oh, you were a good enough boy to go be happiness in eternity. Like, does that not, to any rational person, sound like the ultimate fucking cope in the world? I certainly would love it to be real. I really would. But I can tell you, faith in God never did me anything when I was young. It sure as hell did nothing. It stopped nothing horrible from happening. Like, holy fuck. No. This is, I'm tired of this shit. I don't even know where the fuck you fuckers came from. But, like, holy shit. I have never been ever, like, truly religious in my videos, except for just talking about demonic imagery in video games. And maybe that was a mistake. I mean, it kind of was a mistake, let's be honest. But I thought it was funny when I made the video. Regardless, I don't know where you fucks came from, but no, I've never, ever believed in this shit, at least since I was a child. So, whatever. You're feel free to believe whatever you want, but holy shit, man. Like, this is just like the evolution discussions, where half of you don't even fucking know what evolution is, yet you have the confidence to talk about how fake it is. It's like, holy shit, man. Like, come on. No. I don't want to talk about this.
Is more psychologically stable, intelligent, educated, wealthy, and driven than the general public. If anything, this is a pretty generous look at the modern world and life today. About 95% of this audience is male.
Yeah,
so
nurse cosplay, that's your worst fetish. I believe you, Mystery. You're a fucking coward is what you are. If you're really saying that's your biggest fetish. Oh, your biggest fetish is being a cuck in my chat.
America's most common ethnic mix of British and German ancestry. This state with the most viewers in total number is California, while the most populous city in California is Los Angeles. The state with the highest per capita WhatIfAltHist fans is Missouri, but I'm going to go with total number, not per capita.
Missouri? What? Okay, well, I guess that kind of explains a lot, maybe. My friends went through my YouTube data, did statistical analysis. What if all his viewership, the whiter on this map, the more per capita viewership? Okay. Okay, so it's per capita, but that's still interesting.
Most Americans live in the suburbs, so let's put him in a middle-class suburban neighborhood in Burbank. The average age for this audience is something around 25, so skewing significantly younger than the general population, and on the older side of the Zoomer generation. The average income for someone that age is around $40,000, and this audience is significantly higher income range than the general population, so let's put him at $50,000 a year. Let's name him Tom Eldridge.
Hold on. Word for Mag Deal is a 280 Canadian. Time to convert to Judaism, Cynthia, Jehovah saves. No, Moloch does, or Satan, or one of them, Baphomet, Baal, whatever. If I just have to eat some foreskins and sacrifice some white people or something. I don't know.
Eldridge and my personal life aren't very similar. I'm just going to throw that out so you guys don't pick through his life as a way of learning about me. Eldridge is a compilation of lots of normal people I've met in my life. I'm sure there are going to be a few people in this audience who'll be saying, I am literally Tom Eldridge. Let's get into Tom's life. Part 2, Childhood. Tom Eldridge was born in 1999 in Providence St. Joseph Hospital in Burbank, California. He's born into a middle-class family.
If I found... I love how this, of course, is going to be about religion again. Can we not fucking talk about this shit? I really, truly do not care. I do not. You can say the Reddit atheism shit all you want, but, like, legitimately, faith is a synonym to cope to me. It really is. It's like, faith makes no sense if it actually doesn't do anything for you. You know what I mean? Like, if there's no... Never mind. I'm not talking about it. I have no fucking faith. How could you be a doomer and have faith? Those things are fucking diametrically opposed. It makes no sense. Fake ass doomers in this chat.
Family in which both of his parents work. His family aren't from California and sacrificed lots of traditional ties to move out there from Indiana. He's from a loving family, but his mother fell out of love with the father, thus they divorced when he was 3 years old. This is how half of marriages ends today, skewing older towards his Gen X parents. The father did nothing wrong, but as the protocol goes in these divorces, his mother got custody. His father became dissatisfied, leaving Los Angeles for Arizona. His mother raised him by—
I would say agnostic atheist rhetoric is all a cope. So what do you mean? Like, it takes no effort to not believe something. I literally go my day-to-day life never ever thinking about the existence of God at any point. I can't even say I ever think about it except when people bring it up. That's not a cope. Like, just existing as an animal. Do you think animals believe in God? No, they exist, they eat, they fuck. They do the things, all the basic things any living creature on this planet does. It's the same with humans. The problem with humans is they have a God-shaped hole in their heart that takes the form of many things. Either it's a religion, or it's feminism, or it's the government, or it's corporations, or it's fucking baby shit, you know, man-child stuff, or any number of goddamn things. We have to obsess over something. We have to worship something. That is the curse to be a human being. It's one of many. One of many. Intelligence is another goddamn curse. If I could be a retard, I honestly, like, give me a fuck, Satan, show up. Where's your contract? Be a retard and happy? Ding, 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 ding. I got you, boy. I will fucking slice my palm open right now, squeeze it over the contract. Fuck being smart. I don't give a shit.
Herself. Eldridge has one sister who became a hyper-leftist, as was normal for girls in her demographic and age. She got a useless degree and works as a barista, channeling her rage into politics. His mother got stressed at working and supporting the children at the same time. She would go years with certain mild substance abuse, like smoking tobacco or alcohol.
Comparing humans to animals is a leftist. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Go do something, coward. Go fucking do something in the world. You won't. You won't. You'll make definitive statements like this and then continue to do nothing. Have some false sense of superiority. If anything, there's a lot of lefties better than you. Because what do? They go out and they make changes. They worm into fucking communities and they destroy them. They win. That is an action. Instead of just fucking sitting around praying and hoping God's gonna fix something, they go and do shit. Okay? Fuck. I'm so tired of people coming in here and saying shit like that. Like, I don't have a problem with you saying I'm lazy or any of that. That's all fine. What I do have a problem with is people, like, with this false sense of superiority that you did not earn. You didn't fucking earn it, okay? Go out and do something respectable, and then you will earn it, okay? It's fucking, ugh, oh, man. This is what I'm saying. This is fucking horseshoe theory is what it reminds me of. It's just that instead of religion, leftists, again, they have feminism, communism. That's their religion.
That never stayed and didn't really have any interest in being a stepdad. There's an important anthropological detail here. Through studies,
So these are the ideologies of parts of the world. Absolute nuclear, yeah, family structure and political ideologies. So absolute nuclear, authoritarian, exogenous, communitarian. Fuck, I can't read these descriptions, so this is pointless. Why are these so low quality?
found that family structure is incredibly important given that it imprints what seems intuitively correct onto people. This is an example of Saw, in that Confucius said the same thing, where he said that family is the basis of national or civilizational unity and stability. Thus, by stabilizing the family, you stabilize the society. You can use family structure to predict the political ideology of a society, or—
You can't just say that the Bible and Christianity teaches good morals to say that faith is a cope. Yes, you can, retard. Arku, that is one of the dumbest things you have said legitimately. Legitimately. You're saying that I can't be taught ethics without also believing that a woman took a fucking apple from a snake, which got us kicked out of heaven, or like fucking, there's just any number of stupid fucking stories. It doesn't fucking matter. I don't have to bring up examples. Like, it's like saying like, you can't, I don't know. You could say anything. You could fucking say you can't get your ethics from Lord of the Rings without thinking Lord of the Rings is real. Like, I mean, what do you mean? That means nothing. There is plenty of Christians, you can call them fake Christians, who got their ethics from the Bible and think the Bible is a metaphor, that they're all supposed to be, those stories are lessons to teach you ethics. I can't even believe you just fucking said that. That's so stupid. Holy shit.
Or its level of development. The role fathers have in a society predicts how societies see God or the government. Without a father in his life, as well as going to a feminized school, Tom always felt like he wasn't really a man. His mother loved him but would get stressed over minor stuff, didn't understand his desire to be great or change the world.
The apple was symbolic for disobeying God. Oh, well, you're not a real Christian then, Steven. You didn't take the Bible literally. This is what we're talking about. These fucking... How do you grow up, if you consider yourself to be intelligent? How do you grow up and never question the things you were taught growing up? How can you truly call yourself intelligent without questioning the things that you were programmed at a young age? Can you? Can you really say to yourself, I'm an intelligent human being, having never questioned the things you were taught as you grew up? This is exactly what's happening with leftists right now. They were taught that, you know, love is love, that black people are horribly oppressed, that, you know, trannies are being executed in mass, I guess, or something. I don't know. They're missing rights, whatever rights. They're not rights, whatever they are. They're taught all of this bullshit that's blatantly untrue, right? That's why they believe it, because they were taught it at a young age. The same can be applied to anything. If you do not even question the things that you were taught as a child, how can you say you're intelligent? Legitimately. If you question it and still believe, that's fine. I really don't even have a problem. Because obviously, like, you know, there's no proof that it's not real, obviously. But you have to believe, and why would you believe if you've seen modern society, if you've opened your fucking eyes, you've looked around the world, seen the state of the human race, seen who rules over us, seen the future, if you have any sense of predicting what's going to happen. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate, you just consider all the facts of what's happening in society. Fucking, I don't know, man. You do whatever you want. But I'm sure as hell not going to be a believer anytime soon. That's for sure.
Act incredibly irrationally. Tom always wanted to do stuff with his life, but he had trouble having personal discipline and responsibility. We know from studies that fathers imprint the ability to feel like you have agency in the world, while mothers imprint psychological stability or mindfulness. Fatherless homes are vastly worse off than those with a dad.
Solar. What do you mean? You found faith after research? That just sounds schizophrenic. I mean, what research? The thing is, even if you have to understand, even if the Jews, will just say it, if they believe something, doesn't mean it's real. Let's just put it at that. Like, period. Even if all of these fucks believe tearing foreskins off or whatever, sacrificing them to a demon, whatever the fuck they do, I don't care. Whatever they do does not mean it's real either. Like, it really does not mean that. Like, these fucks can do whatever they want. That's the truth. At the end of the day, they can be pedophiles and get away with it. I mean, look what they did to Epstein. Epstein was like, I'm going to out all you motherfuckers. I have all the blackmail, proof all of you are pedos. They killed him and they got away with it, and they're going to continue to do whatever the fuck they want. It doesn't even matter if it's real. It really does not matter. The thing that matters is that you will do nothing. That's what matters. They will continue to put their fucking knees on your neck until we're all long gone. with the best we can hope is that some future generation grows a set, but given all the chemicals that we all ingest from a child, I just don't have much hope for that. Really, I don't. The boomers, they all sold us out. The boomers are truly the satanic generation, whether they realize it or not. Not only did they abuse their kids thoroughly, so they all hate them, they hoarded the wealth, they did nothing of value with it, they convinced themselves that they're strong and brave and they were the best and everyone is a pussy below them, when they had it easier than any generation after them. They fucked us, and they're still alive, they're still ruling over us, still making laws, still sold out to the powers that be, whoever they may be. Fucking I don't even know, man. Yeah, no, I'm sure as hell not coping that things are getting better anytime soon. I know what it would take. I know what it would take, you know? I might not truly have the gut for it. I joke about the synthler shit. I know I wouldn't do it if I was given the opportunity. I still truly deep down have my heart of gold, which is why I'm like this. But fuck me. Like, it's no. No. The shit that needs to be done is truly Hitler tier. Actually worse than Hitler, I'll be honest. You have to do things worse than Hitler to fix what's happening right now. Considerably worse than Hitler. That's not happening. That's not fucking happening. Carl Sama, thanks for $5. Evolution is real and it affects humans. It's literally part of communist ideology to deny this fact. Dude, I have so many schizos in my chat. I'm just getting tired of it. I am definitely a schizoid, without a doubt. But, like, for me, I'm more pragmatic at the end of the day. Like, what is the things directly affecting us, the human race, right now? What is making things bad? Like, the fucking spiritualism, I do believe in some shit for sure that something is clearly off about what's going on. But I certainly have no faith that I'm going to be saved by some god who realistically wouldn't give a flying fuck about any of us. Why would he? If he did, he probably would stop the suffering that happens constantly. But if this is supposed to be some grand lesson that we, using our free will, need to save ourselves, we fucking failed. We thoroughly, utterly failed. The test has failed. So either we need to bail out, or a fuck ton of bloodshed, more suffering, far more than any of us have seen in our lifetimes, needs to happen to correct this. A fucking apocalyptic level event to steer things back in the right direction. Because nobody's going to do anything. I truly believe nobody's going to do anything. We've long passed the point where, again, the amount of guns that are in the hands of Americans, and they stand by and let shit happen. Why? Because they're low-test, fat fucks who just cope. Like the boomers, just like a boomer, they say how great they are, and they totally would do something, then do nothing. They do nothing. The Founding Fathers fucking fought the Revolutionary War over much less than what's happening to us right now. Far, far less. So, you know. No, I have no hope. I am a true doomer. For real. I'm shocked that I still have to say this shit after streaming for 3 years, but, you know. Porcupine, thanks for $20. If you believe demons exist, then the opposite must be true. Hell no. What are you talking about? That's why does the opposite have to be true? Why does the opposite have to be true? Do you have any real explanation as to why that's the case? And I also don't know if I even believe in demons. That's why I'm agnostic. I'm not convinced in either direction. Society's decaying because those who are in power are satanic. Yeah, and they're winning. Even if things are bleak, we must try and do what we can given our circumstances. As soon as you start doing stuff, I'll be right behind you. I'll be right behind you when you guys start doing stuff. Game Sense, thanks to $2. Watch the drain cool off. I read your chat 5 fucking times. I'm not just gonna stop the stream because I'm ranting. No, if people don't understand who I am by now, they need to. They fucking need to. Because there's still I can't stop thinking of the idiocy around the exodus of my overly parasocial fans who again think they knew who I was. No. How many fucking times do people have to learn? You do not know who the YouTuber is in real life. You do not. You never will. You never fucking will. Even if it's unintentional, people put on a persona. I try my best not to. But even so, you're still getting exactly what I want you to see, right? That's what you're seeing. So if you think I've changed, I haven't changed. I just got more comfortable being exactly who I am. The only difference is I've gotten way more lazy than I was 4 years ago. That's definitely true, but I'll say it 100 times. I've already explained why it happened. I know exactly why. It's just simple, like, you know, if you feed the mouse less and less cheese, is he really going to run on the wheel to earn the cheese? I don't know. I can't think of a good enough analogy, but the point is, you know, like, if the monkey, you feed the monkey every time it hits the button, and you suddenly give him smaller and smaller portions for hitting the button, but then all of a sudden a different button, a green button shows up, and the green button's even easier to hit than the red button, and he gets more food. Oh man, he keeps hitting the green button. What happened to him? He's changed. He's completely different now. Why'd he hit the green button? What the fuck? Really? You can't figure it out? Harja Starwall, thanks to the 100 rupees. Hail Synthler, any plan for a grand video? I'll be reviewing Wukong, definitely. Also, my Bretans, we are blessed not to be in a cannibal age of Kali Yuga. We can do our best to survive. Oh, it can definitely get worse. It can definitely get worse, but nobody wants it to get worse. We want things to get better, but people allow things to get worse, and we will continue to allow things to get worse. That's the truth. Unfortunately, we live in very bad times to be a rebel of some kind, because the powers that be are tracking everything we do on our computers. I mean, it's almost surprising I haven't been visited at this point by a 3-letter agency. But I guess I'm just I'm too small for I don't usually directly encourage any illegal behavior. But I certainly would say illegal behavior is the only way out of this mess. I'll say that. I would never condone doing anything against the law, but sure as hell not going to vote your way out of this problem. I think Trump winning will just slow things down a little, as usually is the case with conservatives. I don't know. Again, I think we're just guilty of both the boomers and the Gen X, where it's like, instead of actually actively making anything better, we're just slowing things down long enough for us to get what we can out of this existence, and then the next few generations are going to have to deal with the hell. You know? Like Zoomers, again, you see those statistics with the Zoomers, with the depression and all that shit. I mean, can you see it getting any better? Not unless there's some kind of collapse with the things actively trying to make things worse. I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. Trump won't win, deep state won't allow it. They're in a fight for their survival. It definitely seems that way, but I just feel like if Trump wins, it's not really going to matter that much. I mean, it'll make things better for all of us in the short term, for sure. So that's why I fight for, you know, you should obviously vote for him. But in the long term, I just can't see things turning around without real actions, which I'm hoping real actions will happen, but I don't think anybody watching this is going to take any real actions. So Trump has already compromised. You're a fool if you think otherwise. Yeah, I mean, duh. I've seen. I mean, people call him Zion Don to fucking try and get people to not vote for him, but it doesn't matter, because the point of voting for him is to secure in the short term our finances, basically, and maybe slow down some left-wing propaganda. But it's up to the individual, not Trump, not congressmen, not Supreme Court. It's up to the individuals in mass, which is the opposite of individual. You get my point. It's up to the collective civilians to decide enough is enough with the communist, Marxist, progressive ideology. We have to do something. They're not going to do it for us, period. They're not going to do it for us. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to talk about religion anymore. Like, again, like, it just gets annoying. I do not fucking intrude on you people and spew my Reddit rhetoric or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. But you fucks won't shut the fuck up, and you wonder why people don't like you. You know, like, this is why, like, Redditors are depressed. That's why they're atheists. Okay, you know, depression and agnosticism, atheism, all that, they all go together, right? If life is great, you can certainly put your faith in something, and there's no consequences. If you're depressed and you're hoping God, you know, believing God will make things better, it won't. It won't. And, you know, religious people are always like, well, you got to save yourself. God can't save you. Okay, well, okay, what's the point then? Just believe in God, and then when I die, my suffering's over? I'm going to live another 40 years, at least. It's...
90% of runaways don't have a dad, 80% of rapists, 63% of youth suicides, vastly higher drug usage, 85% of childhood disorders. Teen girls from fatherless homes are 3 times as likely to get pregnant out of wedlock. This stuff is a really big deal, and I can't understate it. The horrible thing is that nearly half of American children live in a fatherless home, and for certain ethnic or racial groups, this gets up to 3/4 of the population, making this a national epidemic, and this is happening at the worst rates ever in human history now. In leaving Indiana, Tom's family is isolated. His mother is incredibly stressed that she has to support her children while working a full-time job with little support. She has 2 girlfriends that she sees once a month where they have a wine.
Right, and why is she a single mother? You gonna address it? This is my only problem with What If All His videos. He still has not gotten to the point where if there's no culprits for what is wrong with society, what the fuck are the point of these videos? Ultimately, you have to, if you do not set an enemy and then you expect people to take actions, who are they taking the action against? I've seen some of these videos before, and he always does this. Like, I think partially it's because he doesn't want to be associated with incels or whatever. But the point is, if you do not give anybody responsibility for choices that they made, say hypothetically, might not have happened, but hypothetically, the woman decided, oh, I'm not attracted to this man anymore, and I'm going to go cheat on him. Or maybe she doesn't even do that. Maybe she's just like, let's get a divorce, and doesn't cheat on him. Let's just say that. And, you know, the child is devastated and scarred for the rest of their fucking life because their parents got divorced. I guess that's nobody's fault, right? Nobody made a choice there. It could be the dad's fault too, but the point of what I'm trying to say is that you can't just say, oh, so this is society because they brainwashed women or whatever. I mean, technically true, but how did we get to this point before that? You have to search further back, go further back before society's like, whatever, I'm not getting into it.
Night, but neither are the kind of people that she can really expect to reliably support her in the hard times of her life. She went through a depressive episode after Tom left that she didn't tell anyone about until a year later. Keep in mind, Saw has consistently shown that interpersonal relationships are the most important driving variable for happiness. Due to the stress of this, his mother would periodically collapse into hysteria when she became too stressed. She would be obsessed with completely inane details. She was a borderline helicopter parent different, but not nearly the worst that Tom knew, especially growing up in suburban California. His mother would get very worked up over minor details like getting his school lunch perfectly right, and whenever he would stay with friends, she would call multiple times to make sure he was okay. From this, Tom has a sense of inner rage at never being able to develop his masculinity by doing brave stuff as a child. As an adult, he feels like he has potential which was never tapped. Keep in mind, I'm 2 years younger than Tom. The stories I have about helicopter parenting are absolutely horrifying. My parents were on the other side of the spectrum, where they let me do whatever I wanted, not really out of any principle, mind you, they just didn't care. However, growing up, I knew parents who wouldn't let their kids get out of their sight until age 18, who would walk their kids 4 blocks to school, or wouldn't let them spend their own money until the end of high school, who would move to the state their children went to college in to follow them there, who would read all their texts, not...
In my case, it was more like my parents let me do what I want, and then when I made the wrong decision, I was berated for it. Like, I told you guys a story of when I was in friend's basement playing their N64 alone while the kids played outside. I definitely got berated for that for years. There's plenty of times where it's like, oh, I'll just choose to play video games instead of, oh, go see your friend or play outside or whatever. Got berated for that a bunch of times. Just many things. I don't know. There's also many cases of like my mom wanting to, you know, let's all go to the zoo or let's see whatever bullshit, do something on the weekend, which of course I didn't want to do because I was addicted to video games or whatever. So you slowly build resentment. Or I was forced into all these sports when I was young, like to play soccer or flag football or hockey or wrestling or all these things that I didn't like to do, almost any of those things. It got forced to do those things. You know, it just builds resentment over time. It is what it is.
Not let them play outside or leave the house or even do stuff like play violent video games or study war. I think this is legitimately evil. That's since the parents, through helicopter parenting, are robbing their children of agency. Children use their childhoods in order to play, to figure out the world, to test themselves socially, to go on adventures, to learn their boundaries. This is why Gen Z, or a major reason, why they have such crippling...
Mom told me to play outside, so I took my Xbox outside. That is funny. It's funny.
Bad mental health issues. As a Zoomer, I know these people, and it's crazy
yeah,
that
I got
Gen
you,
Z
Julia. I know.
can't go to work.
I'm, you know, drinking aside, I legitimately have absolutely nothing against Christians. I've said this a million times. I don't. But you're not going to convince me to have faith, okay? You know what? Hopefully, fucking... my life isn't always what it is right now, but for the foreseeable future, it probably will be. It's a hell of my own making in a lot of cases, but, you know, it's I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Let's just say, yeah, there's no room for faith in my life.
Ask someone out on a date, go on a call, a road trip, and are offended by someone who contradicts their politics. You will never know how bad this issue is until you see it up front. I think this is an issue on the proportion of a national calamity that no one talks about. When I was growing up, it became taboo to let kids play outside unchaperoned. For older people, wandering around town by bike, hanging out with friends whenever they wanted, and exploring was just seen as totally normal. My baby boomer father would just wander around town all day as a child. My parents let me do this as a teenager, where I would bike 20 miles a day alone, but they were the exception.
20 miles?
Literally, if people saw other people's 10-year-olds kids playing outside in their own yard without their parents' supervision, they would call the police on them. I was there. This culture was real. I find Zoomer children...
Yeah, things have gotten a lot worse. Thankfully, my parents weren't like that, but, I mean... yeah, I've heard shit like that before.
tend to have two separate issues for their parenting based around what social class they're a part of. The upper and middle classes tend to helicopter parent their children, while lower class parents often don't try hard enough, where they can't provide the guidance their children need since they're so worn down by the trials and tribulations of life in the working classes today. My best friend's from a working class family, and growing up, he barely knew anyone whose families either weren't split up or where the parents didn't have some mental health or drug issue. Tom is a muted form of this, with a kinda helicopter parent to mom who sometimes goes through phases of smoking, drinking, and casual sex, which befits his middle class background. Instead of playing outside and making friends, Tom instead spent most of his free time online. He uses social media sparingly, but his sister is completely obsessed. Keeping up with her leftist friends on Instagram has turned her completely insane. Her entire life has been consumed by leftist ideas and jargon. She and Tom drifted apart as teenagers due to this. Tom started watching porn at age 13. He went through a phase of being addicted as a teenager. He feels guilt about this, but doesn't have any opportunities for real sex, so it's a lifeline he uses to stay sane. Due to spending so much time online, his social life was never particularly good. He made a couple good friends in high school, but they drifted apart after he graduated. They started working different jobs, and the thing that kept them close was the shared school environment. He plays video games on Discord with them once a week. He feels insecure about his social abilities, and he knows he's not a weirdo or a loser, but he always feels like an outcast even though he rationally knows that he's doing average. Tom has periodic panic attacks which just hit him when he's not aware. For about a couple hours, he just feels complete panic and is unable to do things. He feels anxiety about random stuff in his life, like making...
I used to feel that before I started YouTube. It's just an inner desire that you need to do something. You know that you need to do something, and yet you do nothing. You must do something. You must. You have to figure it out, whatever it is. That's why I try to say to NEETs. I know we all like to joke like, oh, the NEET is comfy, the wage she is a slave or whatever. If you're a man, you have to do something. Literally anything to fight for, to keep going. Because if you don't, you will kill yourself eventually. You have to do something. You have to.
his own choices, interacting socially, or even little stuff like what to eat for dinner or what to watch on Netflix. He's aware that he has anxiety issues and he feels like less of a man for having them, but he doesn't know how to deal with it. He's gone to a therapist once, but the therapist seemed completely out of touch with his needs, and she didn't seem to actually understand the issue and just told him platitudes. When Tom was going to school, the pressure to get into college was hitting a fever pitch.
Was I able to suppress that desire to do something for so long, considering you only started YouTube 4 years ago? The way everyone does, jerk off, play video games, that's it. Eventually those things lose their novelty, and then you're left completely hollow. So you have to do something.
As a person who lived through it, this was an insane moment that I've never seen adults really talk about seriously. When I was in elementary school, teachers and parents were talking about college. They shortened recess to only 25 minutes to put more time in for classes. Every single decision for a child's life when I was growing up was somehow about college. It was an unhealthy obsession. This was due to rising competition due to inequality and labor oversupply, which I have covered in basically all my other videos, thus forcing people to push harder for
this fucking stock footage is starting to distract me. I wish he would have something else as B-roll in his videos.
Tom's mom cared more about this than he did. She would push him to get good grades, but didn't have the time, money, or skills to actually help him that much with this goal, thus having her spiral emotionally when he didn't get good grades. She enrolled him.
Holy fuck, that's literally me. Let's just go back. Jesus Christ.
rising competition due to inequality in labor oversupply, which I have covered in basically all my other videos, thus forcing people to push harder for fewer slots. Tom's mom cared more about this than he did. She would push him to get good grades, but didn't have the time, money, or skills to actually help him that much with this goal, thus having her spiral emotionally when he didn't get good grades. She enrolled him in extra
Yep. Yep.
curriculars he didn't particularly like or care about to boost his college application. This was a huge thing I saw growing up, with so many kids doing extracurriculars, none of which they were actually that passionate about.
I fucking refused. I legitimately would not do them. I just said no, I'm not doing them. I didn't do it.
Again, this was something my parents didn't really care about, and I feel fortunate about. Colleges use extracurriculars as a proxy for social class and assortative. Tom, when he was around age 12, was put on Adderall in a joint decision between his mother and the school counselor due to the attention issues because he had trouble sitting down for 8 hours a day in class. Later on, at the end of high school, he was put on SSRI, antidepressant medicine, due to his depression. He found that neither of these really worked and was shocked to later realize that Adderall was a form of meth. Tom, for a period in high school, followed this path. He did school for over 13 hours a day by various proxies. This is since he spent 9 hours a day going to class, another 2.5 hours doing sports, then another 3 hours doing homework. This was something that I saw was the norm in high school. I'm still shocked people went through it without complaining or even acknowledging it. And this was completely normal for people I knew in school. It's a literal Chinese or Victorian work schedule without even the recognition that what's going on is hard or you're not even being paid for it. Not gonna lie, even though I afterwards became a successful professional YouTuber, I'm still resentful of what the school and social system put me through for literally no end result, in that due to the racial caste system that became hiring, white men won't get those jobs anyway. The economy is so bad to
Well, it just exists to teach you to be a good little slave. If you can sit there for 8 hours and just swallow the bullshit, you can probably fuck around for 8 hours at McDonald's or retail or whatever. Yeah, that's all it was good for. And 90% of what they taught you is completely fucking useless in the real world. Again, like, if any people joke about this, but you know, if aliens do exist and they saw the state of our society, they'd be like, why are you teaching these people useless things that they can't even use? Like, you know, any society that wants to build a utopia would take they would early schooling would select people for whatever traits that they're the best at, and then they'd get advanced schooling in whatever they're good at, and then they would fit into whatever they need to be for society to build it forward. It wouldn't be this general bullshit that you're just all gonna forget in less than 5 years. It makes no sense. It doesn't serve any fucking purpose. The only argument in favor of it is just to basically select for general aptitude at studying and perhaps in some cases natural intelligence, but that's a bit harder because you really can just through pure memorization fight your way through school and get good grades. You know, it doesn't exactly select for intelligence, except maybe advanced programs. You know, if you're a grade ahead or 2 grades ahead, then yeah, you're almost certainly naturally gifted. But even then, it's useless information that you're shoving into people's heads. Just to maybe hope that when they get to college, they can find whatever they're good at or whatever they like and get a degree and work in that job. Well, things haven't worked that way in decades at this point, as people now know, as he was saying, with $100,000 in debt. Yeah, so.
today that no one, no matter how good their grades are, is doing well. That's actually something I realized in high school, that this wouldn't end well for anyone, and so that's why I worked so hard in the channel or to be an entrepreneur. And the thing that annoyed me is that I never really cared about that path. I never really cared about going to college. I just wanted to read books and study history, but that wasn't a path that was really given to you by the society, so you were forced down this rat race even if you didn't care, and it's a fundamentally very conformist and classist system that's soulless. Tom went through a mental break.
Thinking Ape made a video saying that in school, people's natural ability and talent makes a feedback loop since they get positive results. If you don't have the talent, you don't try. It can sometimes go in the opposite direction, where you're too successful and your parents sort of overinflate your ego in one thing and then beat you down in other ways. That's what happened with me and my brothers specifically, where our intelligence clearly was the one standout feature we had. And so, unfortunately, neither one of my parents knew how to foster that. As he was saying earlier, he literally described my mom one-to-one, where it's like, don't have the skill, the time, or the whatever to like actually help nurture your child's intelligence. And so you're just kind of aimless, have no idea what you want to do, get lazier, the video game addiction gets worse, all these things sort of just kind of, sometimes a kid won't just figure out on their own what they want to do, what they're supposed to do, especially if you become a doomer at 14 years old like I did. So, it didn't work out. It didn't work out. Maybe ultimately it did now that I'm doing this, but, I don't know. YouTube is much better than what I could be doing, which would be basically nothing, but I don't know.
Down at age 17 and refused to exert more effort for junior and senior year. He realized that the system was stacked against him, either due to being a white male and also that people of higher social class would beat him at this game no matter what he did. This made his mother incredibly resentful and was a long-lasting, real break in their relationship. After 6 months of
I gotta go back again because it's another thing that sounds like literally me.
Society, so you are forced down this rat race even if you didn't care, and it's a fundamentally very conformist and classist system that's soulless. Tom went through a mental breakdown at age 17 and refused to exert more effort for junior and senior year. He realized that the system was stacked against him, either due to being a white male and also that people of higher social class would beat him at this game no matter what he did. This made his mother incredibly resentful and was a long-lasting, real break in their relationship.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty accurate to my experience as well.
After 6 months of a depressive episode in which he stopped trying at school, he started using marijuana. He was permanently high for the final year of high school and still uses it recreationally ever since. Tom didn't particularly like school. However, to be fair, school didn't like him either. For as long as he could remember, the school system was run by radical leftists who told him repeatedly that white men should be held back across society. Over the time he was in high school,
thankfully I didn't get most of that until probably the end of high school. I basically got out right before the propaganda hardcore hit the school system. So for me, it was more just the old-fashioned kind. It was pretty, like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm sure I explained it to my parents many times, but they never seemed to understand. It was like, listen, I'm not going to go to college because I know I'm just going to waste your money. I'm going to end up in debt. There's nothing I actually want to do. It may be there's a chance I figure something out, but even then, like, I got to pay this debt back over the course of years. Fuck that, I'm not doing that. Plus, honestly, I was even way more doomer back then. Whereas I was very depressed. Where I'm like, this is fucking pointless. Try for what purpose? Like, for what? What's going to be accomplished? I'm sure as hell not going to get the life that I should have. I still don't even have the life that I want after fucking, working basically the Zoomer dream job for 4 years. I don't have what I want. Why? Because I'm fundamentally damaged as a human being. I can't just function in society and, interact and be nice and social or whatever. I mean, I can be perfectly polite in public, but If my dad has this magical curse that people, are drawn to him, I'm more like the opposite, except it's not really magic. It's just people know. People know not to talk to me because I don't look like a friendly person. So, it's for the best. I'm really not a mean person to strangers, but certainly I'm not the type of guy you would approach in public.
They changed the curriculum so that by the end, all the humanities classes, and even a little bit of the STEMs, with the books they read in English, the history that was taught, and more, was all done through a hyper-leftist prism. When I was in high school, they made the entire history, English, and language curriculum around wokeness. They also put in a mandatory social justice week, and we had weekly assemblies about left-wing issues. Every single essay had to be about leftism. I'm from Pennsylvania, so this happened earlier for Tom in the more left-wing Los Angeles. Tom learned to loathe leftism for this. However, his mom is a moderate leftist while his sister is a radical one. Thus, he could...
You guys want me to collaborate with Carl Samad and he's calling me dumb? What do you mean? What? I acknowledged what he said about the evolution communist ideology thing. I have nothing to say. What do you want? You want me to get in a bigger rant against my religious people who don't believe in evolution? I got nothing more to say. I agree, evolution is real. There you go. I do believe that. I got nothing else.
He could never talk about this at home, and they'd gaslight him and say it was all really good. The classes were incredibly boring and stultifying. They were lacking in any masculine vigor or excitement. I remember when I was in 4th grade, I drew a knight with a sword, and my teachers called my parents in as they were worried I might become violent. One time in 5th grade, I was arguing with my friends over the rule set in a certain board game we were playing, and the teacher said that if we didn't stop, they'd make...
Gelato, why didn't you pay attention in school? You are legit room temperature IQ. Do you know what the term common ancestor means? Do you know? You do know chimps and gorillas exist at the same time, right? We exist at the same time as chimps, gorillas, all these other types of monkeys, right? We're all around here at the same time, right? The argument is common ancestor millions and millions of years ago, right? You can't even comprehend if you ate breakfast yesterday. Like, what do you mean? I did eat breakfast this morning. That's you. Millions of years ago, far beyond, your comprehension of time, we all came from some ape-like creature, humanoid-ish, apish creature. That's the theory. It's not, we used to be monkeys? What, are you retarded? How could you believe that? We used to be monkeys? You're the retard. Listen to what they tell you. Fuck. I mean, you're allowed to believe it's wrong as long as you understand it. But if you don't even understand it, shut your fucking mouth. God damn. Is that too much to ask?
Make us stop playing the game. Interest in the subjects men naturally like, such as war, philosophy, craftsmanship, or geopolitics, was legitimately discouraged. Anything that doesn't fit a feminine, prearranged structure was frowned on, and people ask why young men are underperforming in school or the workplace. Also, just throwing this in here, when I was in middle school, I woke up at 5:30 every morning because school started at 7:20 a.m., and I lived in a rural area where the school was and I went to public school. My public school was half an hour away from my house. So the bus would pick me up at 6:40, drop me off there at 7:20. And I remember thinking to myself, what purpose does this serve?
Hold on. How come we're a society where the largest newspapers have women complain about having the AC be too cold at their work is the patriarchy, but I was non-consensually forced to wake up at 5:30 a.m. for public school at age 11. Meanwhile, no one cares when I complain. Well, because you're a man. I'm sure if women in mass said I shouldn't have to get up at 5:30 a.m. to go to school, then, people would start talking about it. But again, all these narratives are pushed by the media. They're not pushed by individuals. That's the reason. I'm assuming this is a rhetorical question that he's asking on the screen. But the point, I don't know if the point he's trying to make is the point I would think of, which is just that every narrative is non-organic, okay? They're being pushed by greater powers. If it's being spread in mass, it is not something that some individual thought in their head and said out loud and it was spread by word of mouth. That doesn't fucking happen. No. No. If the media reports on something, it's a narrative that is being pushed by somebody.
To just make the students tired so they don't accomplish anything. And Tom has a similar schedule where he wakes up at 6 a.m. every day to go to class early, and almost everyone I knew in high school was operating off only 4 hours of sleep. And I think that's a pretty important detail.
Yeah, this is another fucking thing too. My sleep was so fucked up when I was younger. Gee, I wouldn't be surprised if that contributed to you know, my gynecomastia, you know, my fucking man boobs that I had when I was around that age. Yeah, because, you know, not sleeping affects your testosterone levels, amongst other things. I'm sure there's many things that were giving me hormonal issues. Not sleeping, which is still a fucking problem I have today, though I've mostly solved that issue in the worst way imaginable, which is by just sleeping in. Because nobody can force me to wake up. They might wake me up in the middle of the night, which is middle of the night. It's the morning. They might wake me up in the morning, but I'll just go back to sleep. Yeah, you know, I have to wonder how many completely fucked sleep schedules that people suffer from, again, including myself, was caused because of the fucked sleep schedule from childhood. You know, dude, my sleep was so bad when I was younger. But, you know, when you're younger, you can resist that shit. Now, if I sleep less than 8 hours, I'm, like, fucked for the first at least 2 hours of the day.
Another thing that I find strange in retrospect was that people in high school would brag and take pride in how much they studied and how little sleep they'd got. They would say, it literally took me 4 hours to finish this. I stayed up till 2 a.m. It took me forever to do my homework. And they would compete over who spent more time doing their homework and who got the least sleep. And this was everyone. And I find that stupid because...
Yeah, I actually never had that problem, I'll be honest. My problem was just not even doing the work. Usually I could do the work at a decent speed if I could actually focus, but focusing was the challenge.
As I did all this hacking to shorten the amount of time I spent in class, so I would do all these shortcuts and stuff. And
I like the
periodically,
PlayStation
really,
controller at the laptop.
School, but it was completely alien to my worldview.
Like, I can't be trusted.
That prizes constantly being a workaholic. Tom didn't really date in high school. He graduated from school a virgin, which is normal in that 1/3 of men under 30 today are virgins and 80% of 18-year-old boys. He had
Even if strangers not inclined to talk to you and you're mostly fine with that, do you still desire to form any relationships, connection, those not as nearly as much as the average person? No, mine's much more specific than that, as if I have to spell it out. This is just one specific type of relationship.
Kind of lame situation.
All right, hold on. Heterosexual men 18 to 30 by age group. Let's see. What is this? Percentage of men. Oh, I see. Yeah. No sex since age 18. I was going to say virgin, but yeah, most of them, I would say, it's probably virgins. So 60, almost 65% of ages 18 to 20 haven't had sex in 2 years, basically, would be by the metric. All right. So 16% total for 18 to 30. That's not that bad, actually. Age 20 plus 10%, 22 plus 6%, 25 plus. Okay. So this data isn't as bad as it looks because this only covers 2 years. It'll be more interesting, and this is back in 2021. It'll be interesting to see one done, you know, a year or two from now. Because, yeah, I feel like the Zoomer generation is probably going to look pretty bad.
Relationship with a girl who was flirting with other guys at the same time, and when he confessed that he cared about her, she left. Most of his friends also graduated virgins. No one explained female psychology to him, thus he over-relied on the advice, just be kind, which just didn't work. As a young man...
Yeah, or be yourself, or take a shower. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, nobody explains female psychology. Nobody. Fucking nobody. Why did no one think that was important? I know why the government didn't think that was important, because men and women are the same, right? Any man can put on a dress and be a woman, right? So I mean, why would you explain how women are different? That would imply women are different than men. As we know, they're not different. So why would you need to explain it? That's the government explanation. But as for our parents, who obviously had children, so they maybe on some basic level understand women, I would hope, but who knows? Maybe not. I wouldn't be shocked if boomers wouldn't even need to understand women on any level to fucking have kids. But things are different now. Very different.
And a few years later, he became obsessed with Andrew Tate since he was the first person who was realistic with him about the negatives of female nature. Part 3, Ennui. Tom went to a crappy college in the area, let's say California State School Dominguez Hills. He really didn't want to, but due to social pressure from his mom and
I'm not American and glad I finished high school before the SJW crap. Not saying we have much better here in the EU, but the American school system scares the shit out of me. It's bad. Oh, it's bad. Yeah, the Americans, I mean, this is a reason why people make fun of American education. Sometimes it's for stupid reasons, though. Like, some of the geography shit does not fucking matter. I'm sorry. I know you Europeans think you're all very important, but, like, who gives a fuck? Like, oh, he can't point to Poland on a map. As a Poland can get wiped off the map tomorrow, wouldn't matter. Sorry if you're Polish. But, no, let's talk about important shit. There's important shit Americans are not taught that is bad. That's not one of them.
in school, he felt compelled to since he didn't have a better idea. When I was around his age, college was pushed down our throats as completely necessary. However, as both Tom and I realized, college actually means very little. If you're not going to one of the best colleges, there is literally statistically no income benefit from going to college anymore. Tom got a degree in business, which is the safe degree for I want to work, but this was counteracted by so many others also getting business degrees as to render his useless. Tom made his two closest friends in college. It was the happiest period of his life, although not as exciting as what his parents told him it would be. Everyone I know who went to college at my age, with the exception of state schools, says it was underwhelming, as I can attest from my personal experience when I went to college for a semester. He lost his virginity in college with his first and only girlfriend. She grew bored of him when he didn't push for a higher income career out of college and left. Tom went into a significant amount of debt to go to college.
It is an interesting level take on the situation. I mean, it still definitely sounds petty on her end, but not nearly as bad as it could be. You know, it could have sounded much more spiteful. Maybe it was told in a way that was spiteful. I don't know. But interesting.
Something on the order of $40,000, which is the average for California. He was encouraged by adults around him to do this.
Could be
and
worse.
No one talked him down, and everyone said he had to do it, where adults completely assured him that he would be able to get a better job that would pay it off. That didn't happen, and he started working at a low-level insurance job, making $40K a year, and has moved it up to $50K a year. He's still paying off the debt, which bites into his consumer spending for the fun stuff that makes life tolerable. He's constantly resentful of the debt. Keep in mind the average American has $100,000 worth of debt. Tom hits something like this number.
This is just, this is the one thing that is, I mean, definitely a good thing about my life. That is completely, I can't relate to this in the least bit, and I'm very glad that I can't. There are definitely some things in this life I can be thankful for, and yeah, not having to deal with debt is definitely one of them.
Number through other forms of debt, whether car or credit card debt being normal. He's not a homeowner. COVID slammed Tom right in the middle of college. He missed out on the last 2 years of college while being forced to take classes remotely. This killed his social life while he was forced to pay tuition, even for not even being in class. He was forced to live with his mom during COVID, who herself was not doing well financially. There started to be a growing resentment between them. Thus, when Tom physically could, he moved out after COVID. although it involved him living in poverty. COVID radicalized Tom. He was vaguely centrist, but not really politically active. Seeing the social changes which occurred during COVID, he became quite conservative, as is normal for young white men in his age demographic. He watches creators like Andrew Tate, Nick Fuentes, Nick Freitas, Jordan Peterson, Joe Rogan, and Jay Waller. They give him a sense of masculinity he's missing in his real life. He especially loves WhatIfAltHist. WhatIfAltHist is his favorite channel and gives meaning to his life. He shares it with all his friends who also become loyal viewers. He views Rudyard as his hero and wishes to emulate his life off him. This has separated him from the world he lives in. He lives a second life on the internet, which bears very little resemblance to his daily life. While being surrounded by left-wingers in his real life, he puts on a mask. He loathes the mask and on a daily basis thinks about how much he hates having to live a lie for every waking moment of social interaction. Meanwhile, he creates a Twitter alt account where he posts far-right content anonymously. He confessed to his mother, but not his sister, his political views. His mother accepts this on paper, but speaks to him in a condescending.
This is definitely a huge part of the story where my life diverts. I have never at any point in my life attempted to have a social mask for my political beliefs. Now, I'm not going to bring them up for no reason. You know, if it doesn't come up, it doesn't come up. But no, I fuck that. I am never at any point pretending to be a lefty. Nope. Can't make me.
Condescending manner whenever she talks about politics. It makes dealing with his family difficult. He never talks about politics at work. If he did, he would be fired immediately. His work forces him to do social justice seminars and social events where he mouths the words in order to pay the bills, but he's secretly filled with inchoate rage. He bottles up rage all day, which he dispels by posting right-wing troll comments on Twitter.
Husky, are you trying to get me pissed at Carlsoma? I barely know who the dude is. I mean, I think I looked him up once before because you guys brought him up. I don't know. Yeah, Mystery, I don't worry. I read that first couple times posted. Armed Politics, a Social Mask. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he was pretending to be a lefty with his acquaintances. I won't even call them friends because they would not be your friends. They'd be acquaintances. If you can't be yourself around them, they're not your friends. But his acquaintances, I guess you would assume a lefty social mask.
Playing violent video games and watching porn. He wants to leave California for Arizona, partly to live near his estranged father and to get out of a leftist state, but lacks the money or courage to do so. His political views have moved further right due to seeing the literal degradation of the city of Los Angeles happen in real time.
Yeah, it's crazy people can just close their eyes to this shit. The type of shit people just ignore to not have to challenge their belief system.
I lived in LA for just a few months, and I saw this happen myself. Tom was there for years. Over the course of his life, he saw Los Angeles' middle class go extinct. The city became filthy, seeing the crazy homeless and migrants, which the city chooses to do nothing about, and that makes large parts of the city uninhabitable. The city has become a sci-fi dystopia in front of his own eyes. It disgusts him, and he watches Twitter reels of the 1960s, where all the buildings he looks at now were clean.
Yeah, those fucking threads, you know, people will post those on like WorkSave GIF and stuff. Like the feels threads. It's always like in the feels threads, you'll see like, oh, here's what, you know, this city looked like in the 40s or whatever. And it's like, holy fuck. Yeah, those are always good.
Nice and new. When people seemed happy and dressed or walked with pride, Tom has learned to lose any faith in other people since everyone he sees in Los Angeles is status-obsessed, vain, cowardly, and self-serving. He has grown resentful of society itself and quietly loathes everyone around him. Tom is pretty smart with an IQ around 115, and he has various interests between technology, history, philosophy, and he reads different books but lacks the willpower to read regularly or the sense of direction to actually put his foot down and study a topic definitively. He's smart enough to realize things are going bad, but doesn't have a better idea on how to deal with it, thus leaving him feeling powerless. The social degradation
Tom should be a YouTuber. that's a solution for Tom's problem.
of the city has left Tom very lonely. He made 2 friends in college. One moved back to his home state of Virginia, while another lives in Santa Monica, an hour away, and works all the time. They see each other about once a month. However, their lives have diverged so much that their conversations seem empty. Nothing that Tom cares about are the things his friends would understand. They talk about basic pleasantries like pop culture or sports, both of which are difficult due to being politically hijacked. Everyone Tom knows is a normie who is purposely ignoring everything going on in the world. It feels like no one cares about who Tom is as a person, even his own family. I asked my audience, how many people do you feel like really understand you as a person with your flaws and strengths? And half of the people in this audience said no one, and then another third said only one person. This is a real social issue, and one of the most important—
This is interesting. So basically, the people answering 0 just don't have a good relationship with their family. Because I feel like the only people who would be your family or a very, very close friend. I guess a spouse, potentially. But yeah, I mean, that is sad.
Important elements of human psychology is the feeling of being loved or understood. From studies, we've consistently found that the underlying, most important variable to happiness is deep social connections. Lots of us have peripheral social connections, but how many people actually understand us for who we are? How many people can feel our soul and care about how we're really feeling? I think very few Americans have a person like that. It's heartbreaking. We live lives of quiet desperation, and no one really cares. Loneliness and friendlessness are huge issues, with a third of Americans in their 20s saying that they have no friends, and 80% of Gen Z saying they feel lonely on a regular basis. We're the loneliest we've ever been. Tom's romantic—
Yeah, the simple answer is yes to your question, Arku. Okay, hold on. Yeah. I mean, those are insanely high numbers for every generation. Let's not mince words there. I mean, just even boomers, it's 50%. So this should tell you something.
Tom's romantic options are completely dead. He's been on 2 dates since leaving college, both of which were failures. Keep in mind the average man Tom's age goes on average less than 1 date a year. Half of men his age haven't approached a girl in the last year.
Yeah, well, this is the most obvious one ever because we've been fucking conditioned. That is tantamount to being a creep. Approaching a woman, like, cold approaching doesn't fucking exist anymore. Why? Online dating, duh. A woman can fucking filter through any man at a fingertip. Why would she want to be approached by randos? She can access literally anybody. This is fucking logic. Straight up, like, just common sense. How is this even confusing to people? Because it's confusing because they have to deny the truth, the obvious truth in front of their fucking eyes. That's how you are a bug man. You're a bug man when you ignore reality. Okay? No shit. You know, a man could fucking get arrested for approaching a woman, and then retards always say it doesn't happen, and you can produce like 10 fucking... I know there's autists who have saved every fucking example. There's always somebody who's like, oh, well, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? It's never enough for these deluded idiots. There's no reason to cold approach.
And a third have never approached a girl in their lives. 2/3 of men Tom's age are single, while 1/3 have never had sex in their lives. This is due to complex reasons which I've tackled in these videos, mostly caused by market imbalances due to—
Yeah, I feel like this incel revolution thing's never happening. I did watch that, but I just feel like there's no way. No. I mean, I wish. I really wish. But I don't think so. They have significantly broken, though even in that video, he kind of says that, ironically, in that video, if I recall correctly, he basically says it would be up to a Chad to lead the revolution. But why would the guy, the metaphorical tribe leader who has a harem of bitches, why would he fight for the incel? That's just, it would take a quality of character that basically doesn't even exist in modern society. There's no reason for, the rich fat cat, big schnazi, so to speak, to fight for the pleb, the slave race. None. And that's basically what it would require. He says that in the video, I think.
To dating apps, which turn modern dating into one of the most unequal societies in the world. If Tinder was a country, it would be the second most unequal country in the world after South Africa and ahead of Venezuela. Tom has just given up trying. He's tried dating apps on and off. He'll go through periods of desperation for about a week where he desperately swipes only to get nothing.
Oh yeah, definitely, Julia. Narcissism is extremely common in this day and age, and everyone's suffering from it. I mean, the for men and women, it's different, but it's definitely just a societal sickness that everyone is obsessed with themselves.
And give up again for 6 months, only to have the panic attack about this again and then fail again. He reconciles himself with watching online porn. He paid an OnlyFans girl twice only to delete his account and cry in shame. His main goal was to have a family, but he's since given up on that. He knows he will probably never get married, or frankly, even get a girlfriend anytime soon. This makes him consumed with self-loathing, horniness, and rage. Tom is about 20 pounds overweight, like 75% of Americans who are either overweight or obese. He really wants to lose the weight and has a gym membership which he only uses a few times a year, and he goes through brief spurts of going to the gym but can't keep up. He follows a lot of fitness influencers. He's also tried to maintain a good diet, but every time he does, something bad happens, and so he gives fitness up. He runs out of money, he hears bad news from his family, or his dog gets sick. But he doesn't.
Yeah, the bad diet thing is definitely relatable. I wouldn't say it's anything that dramatic. Really, for me, it's just bad self-control. I mean, nothing. Drank that whole bottle. Yeah.
Doesn't have the money to take it to a vet. Each time he defaults back onto comfort eating. He rationalizes this that comfort eating is one of the better coping mechanisms to have, since he feels shame about returning to his high school state of being permanently stoned, or his bouts of binge drinking in college. Tom didn't grow up with any religion. His parents were vehement agnostics and atheists, respectively, rebelling against the strong religion of their parents in Indiana. However, this has resulted in Tom having nothing to believe in. He has no higher power or direction to which orient his life around. Thus, he spirals into nihilism. He wishes he could believe in God and admires the trad-cath aesthetic, but he just can't bring himself to do so, since he knows in the bottom of his heart he can't believe in a God that he can't see proof for. He went to church a few times and found it boring. Keep in mind that from Saw, religion is one of the most important components to someone living a happy life. We have an entire generation largely consumed by nihilism, and they don't have any values to believe in. Tom's worldview is completely nihilistic, which is true for most people around his age. He was told growing up that he could achieve whatever he wanted in life if only he worked hard and followed his dreams. He quickly realized as an adult that that was completely unrealistic. He doesn't believe in religion, while his community has done everything it can to spurn it with a postmodernist value system. He doesn't have close relationships, a mate, or community. His hard-right politics are a side effect of having nothing else to believe in. An old African proverb goes, "If the young men don't have a place in the village, they'll burn it down to feel its warmth." Tom realized quickly that there was no social mobility as job. The company, like almost all major companies
In a proper society, one that hasn't been thoroughly cuckolded, that's something these people should fear. They absolutely should fucking fear this.
his hard-right politics are a side don't have a place in the village else to believe in. An old African proverb goes, "If the young men don't have a place in the village, they'll burn it down to feel its warmth." Tom realized quickly that there was
Yes. Is it any wonder why there's so many school shootings? Other than the ones that the feds create, of course. But, yeah. Is it any wonder? They are burning down the village. That's exactly what that is. That's exactly what a school shooting is.
No social mobility as job. The company, like almost all major companies in California, had gone for woke DEI hiring, thus making him as a straight white male stuck high and dry. He considered lying about being a bisexual in order to get job promotion, but felt too much shame to do it. He realized that no matter what he did, he was stuck. This is a very important variable that older people don't seem to get at all, in that woke hiring has completely screwed over Gen Z young men. Successful young white Gen Z guys never work at big companies since there's no way you will ever move ahead. 95% of new job openings in major companies since COVID have gone to non-white applicants. For a frame of reference, I made the calculation in high school that if I didn't become an entrepreneur, I would be...
And the thing is, there's so many results to this. The problem is, again, these videos do sort of have an air of sort of political neutralness to them. I mean, leaning right, of course, like center right, but they have a facade of political neutralness. But to me, you can't just talk about cause without talking about effect, right? And vice versa, of course. The reason it's obvious, there are many layers as to why this is happening. And it's not just about fucking equity, okay? Let's say, hypothetically, you were trying to create a race of mongrel slave people with double-digit IQs. While you believe you're the best ever, you're God's chosen people, right? You need to encourage the creation of the mongrel slave race. So what do? Okay, well, one, you show as many interracial couples as possible in media. Every single commercial, every single TV show, that's one thing. Another thing, these people who, you know, for whatever reason are considered, at least on average, to be the most attractive people, well, they also coincidentally are too intelligent and too, they have too much ingenuity, creativity, all of those things that could be a threat to you. Well, if we simply stop giving them jobs, they can't feed themselves. They're poor. Women, unless they're extremely high above average in terms of looks, women are not going to date the poor white guy over the diversity hire dude who's making more money, right? Unless he's hideously ugly. The point is to bring things to a balance, because obviously the 10 out of 10 Chad who's broke will sleep on the bitch's couch and he'll never have to get a job. But that's an exception. That's 1 in 1,000, right? They need to bring the white people down and bring the other people up. Of course, also, women are being brought up in society in general, so they'll expect more. And so women, the white women, will breed less because their expectations for men are so high that white men can't possibly meet them. And despite what all of the toucan propaganda would have you believe, most people date within their race, the vast majority. Okay, and so if white people never breed because the women's standards are impossibly high and the men can't get a job and they can't do any of these things, is it any wonder how we're getting replaced? You know, there's more examples. There's plenty more examples. All the immigrants have way more children on average, and they get welfare. They're just encouraged on every level to breed as much as possible. This, again, I can't. It is impossible to separate what he's talking about right now with the results. What is the goal? You know, you have to look at the big picture. What are they trying to accomplish? Whoever they are, you literally, I mean, I would prefer if you identify who specifically is doing the things, of course, me personally. But let's just say me and a lefty would agree on some specific things. They wouldn't have to say it's an ethnic group. As long as they say the elites, this is the goal of what they're doing, which they can't because it conflicts directly with their ideology. But let's just say, me and someone who won't answer, they won't take the JQ pill or whatever. Me and somebody else agree, at least on a vague level, that the elites are trying to replace white people, basically, right? That's the goal in Western countries. It's become so increasingly, utterly obvious over the past 10 years. I don't even know where I'm going with this. The point is, I hate that I'm the type of guy who will go off on tangents, obviously. So it just tickles my brain specifically when you start a line of thinking and then you don't finish it. You can't just end the line of thinking here. You gotta follow that thought through to the end. Because at the end of the day, people need to be given direction. They do need to be given direction. Again, I wouldn't say you don't condone any illegal actions, of course. But, you know, if people don't have someone to blame for this, someone, any group, doesn't matter, just a group, then you will never accomplish anything.
Completely screwed. And look at my life now. I am legally a CEO with employees who make 6 figures. And if this didn't pan out and YouTube didn't work, I would be working a minimum wage job. And I see that from people either from my hometown or who went to the college I went to, and it's just horrifying. If this didn't work out, I would not be in a good place. Tom is terrified that he'll be axed from the company for diversity quota reasons. He wishes he could deal with this better by saving up money, but there's no real money to save. He exists on the knife's edge of survival. He keeps on sucking up to his boss, working longer hours, and saying yes to things he hates, which makes him loathe himself since he can't afford to lose this job. He tells himself that he should be doing fine and beats himself up for not making more money or saving more money, but no matter what he does, the money gets eaten up. Whenever he somehow finds a way to make or save money, some random cost comes up that eats him. He keeps on using credit card debt to make ends meet, something he wish he didn't do, but the bills still need to get paid. He saved up some money during COVID, and as of now, he's running out, and he has no savings at all. He's very scared. Like 2/3 of Americans, Tom lives paycheck to paycheck. He works every month only to barely cover his own costs.
This is crazy. Again, if I was a different person and not me who's conditioned to be who I am, I would certainly leverage all of the extra money I saved up to get some bitches, so to speak. Unfortunately, I can't be someone that I'm not. So I just, I'm sure there's plenty of people in chat, maybe not watching right now, but there's people who watch my videos or the streams who are like, well, if I had no debt and I had the money you make, you know, I would be married and have kids or whatever. Well, listen, I'm a YouTuber exactly because of how fucked up I am. All right, you aren't me and you can't be me. It's unfortunate that, you know, I'm exactly who I am because of how fucked my brain is. You know, like I couldn't be this YouTuber without also being this fucked up. It's just, it's not possible.
Costs just to keep working. He's lost any hope of continuing. Over the last year, as costs have gone.
One of my friends said to me the other day, you used to sacrifice your hopes and dreams in order to have a family and a house. Now you do so for no reason. You're not getting anything. Yeah, well, that's, people are realizing that more and more.
Up. He started smoking weed all the time in order to not go crazy. He does experiments of going to work high in order to see if his boss or coworkers notice. He sometimes acts up, even though he's terrified of losing his job, as a way to feel alive from time to time. He finds that no one cares. No matter how much he changes his behavior socially, his coworkers don't care. He might as well not exist. At the same time, his boss constantly asks him to change the work formatting, and if he does something slightly wrong for work,
I'm
his
probably
boss
never
will
going
have
to
him,
Japan.
and he feels depressed that he as a person
I
does
just
not
can't
matter,
see that
but
happening.
he only exists as a cog to exploit. He technically works a 9 to 5, but really leaves work at 7:30. He does this since he's scared of losing his job and wants to impress his boss. The company is low on employees, but doesn't.
Sounds like he's got to watch some Office Space, though things are a lot worse since Office Space, to be fair. So that's certainly not advice for anyone here. But I that is a good movie if you're stuck in that kind of situation. But yeah, I think we're kind of past the point of like, I'm just not gonna go to work. I just don't care. That was, I don't know. It was a good movie though. Definitely a good movie.
Doesn't have the money to hire anyone new either. This is especially humiliating given he
I already said this. Sorry, I thought of it again in case you guys weren't here when I saw Office Space like a few weeks ago, you know. And I'm just thinking after I saw the movie, I'm like, if they made this today, he would just be a NEET. Like he would become a NEET. He wouldn't like get promoted or whatever, though that shit is funny, definitely. But Instead, he would stop going to work and just be a NEET and enjoy the NEET life, and that's what Office Space 2 would be. You know, it's. Uh, then again, you don't have much of a plot. I feel like also if it was made today, it would be less of a comedy and more like a horrific dystopian documentary almost, you know. So it wouldn't work so well.
Usually only works 4 hours a day of productive time, and the rest is wasted while he pretends to work in order to not offend his boss or coworkers. He hasn't taken a vacation for his entire adult life, partly since he's scared of losing his job, but he also doesn't have the money to go on a vacation anywhere either. When he started working, he pretended to like his job, but now he can only barely mask his contempt for everyone that works where he does. It feels like nothing he does in his life is real. At work, he's a cog. No one cares about him as an individual ever. He feels like a person who doesn't really exist, like a ghost forced to work to survive through a machine for no benefit of his own. He has no one to share all these feelings with. He was suicidal, like half of young men have been, and didn't tell anyone about it. Again, like most young men, he eventually didn't get around to actually doing it. He went through a 1-month period of depression where he tried phoning it in as much as possible across his life, whether through work, family, or friends. No one noticed or cared. He constantly fights low-level depression and anxiety. Whenever he stops and thinks, he's consumed by existential crises, and so he tries to stay active all the time, whether through work, doing various errands, or various forms of hedonism like video games or porn. The price of everything has gone up a ridiculous degree. The price of rent has doubled since that time, killing any dreams Tom has had of being a real homeowner. He splits a $3,500 a month apartment with a roommate. He views his roommate with contempt as a normie who doesn't see how bad things are. They do
Yeah, that's why you can't live in shithole cities. $3,500 a month. Yeah, that's fucked.
everything they can to barely speak to each other. Tom doesn't sleep many hours a night since he purposely stays up late to have a few hours alone in the shared living room after his roommate has gone to bed. The rising cost of rent has really killed Tom's finances. Like most Americans, Tom doesn't have $500 that he could blow on an emergency at any given time. He doesn't have any money for hobbies or fun things. He listens to music, smokes weed, watches porn or YouTube, and doesn't even watch Netflix or the new movies since he hates their leftist slant. There's no new culture that he genuinely likes or identifies with. Tom is very careful with his.
That's my fucking channel in a nutshell. Let's go back.
No new culture that he genuinely likes or identifies with. Tom is very.
Yeah, that's definitely literally me. I mean, just look at my fucking, you know, it's like, oh my god. The people fighting against me, it's like, I mean, obviously there's plenty of people who agree with me. That's basically exactly what unites all the viewers of this channel. Is that, yeah, nothing created is good. Nothing. Because it's not made for us. It's made for an audience that doesn't fucking exist. Being funded by disgusting, satanic, bug fucking pieces of shit. The worst ever. Not even really human. Whatever the fuck they are. The most evil people on the planet are funding things made for no one, you know? And it is funny sometimes to review the disgusting shit they produce, especially since I'm benefiting from it. I'm making money off of their disasters. So that's a personal victory for me. You know, if people wonder why I cover this stuff, well, 1, people like to see it. 2, sometimes it's funny. And 3, fuck these people. At least I'm going to get something out of this, you know? I will continue to shit on them for the rest of, you know, with my internet presence. Many non-US dump on US workplaces, only giving 2 weeks of vacation days compared to 4 weeks minimum. Elsewhere in the world, Americans accumulating 6-digit college debt. It is bad. I mean, the upside is we have a lot more expendable income than other places in the Western world. But yeah, I mean, you do have to debate in your head, like, what would you rather have? Shit to waste on video games, porn, movies, whatever? Or would you rather have, like, you know, the free healthcare, more vacation time, whatever? I don't know. It's all shit. We're all bad. Who cares about the dick measuring contest of Western countries? Do you think it's good for anybody? It's not good for anybody right now. Nobody's doing good. We're all doing bad. Different degrees of bad depending on the country, but it's bad for everybody involved because we're all one world government basically in the first world. So, um, yeah, it's bad. Oh, it's bad.
very careful with his food spending, basically only eating carbohydrates, which is what he can afford. He went 2 weeks just eating ramen. He doesn't heat his home anymore, which is generally fine in California's very temperate climate, since he saw a bill one winter from the city of Burbank for $500 heating fee. That happened to me. He remembers hearing a story of his 19th century immigrant ancestors from Europe being happy that they could eat beef every day in America, and realizing he couldn't afford to do that himself. Gen Z has 90% less spending power than the boomers did in their 20s, and this is even more
I mean, this is definitely something that needs to be repeated over and over again, because like there's still fucking retarded boomer-esque people just talking about how it's like, oh, they don't work hard. It's like, why would they work hard? For what? For pennies? Why, fucking, there's no reason to work hard. None.
exacerbated in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive places and most unequal places in America. The biggest issue in Tom's life is his complete alienation. Nothing feels like anything anymore. He might as well not even be alive. He feels completely useless. When people study suicide notes, the top word people use is useless. Tom feels completely powerless, stuck in the cycle of a brutal era of history. He likes that WhatIfAltHist is capable of explaining the issues he faces on a macro geopolitical level, but he doesn't draw much solace from this since he's still stuck here and can't change anything. He periodically goes through self-improvement phases, but doesn't have the energy or will to keep going. Also, it hasn't really given him much benefit either. He knows that even if he doubled his money, it would just go off to paying the debt, so what's even the point? Nothing in his life feels real. It all feels like a dream. The only time he feels even somewhat alive is when he watches porn, takes a puff of weed, or starts an interesting video on YouTube. However, for each of these, they've worn down so much since he does them out of habit daily, and he's lost any positive feeling attached to them. Nothing he does feels real or human. His humanity has been worn down by the machine of modern bureaucratic civilization until only the mask remains. He grows to hate the beast inside of himself since it rebelled against the horror of the sheer meaninglessness and ennui of his life. It feels like he's stuck in some hyper-real purgatory with no way out. Part 4. Lessons. I understand one of the conventions of writing is that a story is supposed to have a point or some kind of positive note. The problem is that's not how reality works. Our lives don't act like that. Sometimes life just sucks and you need to accept it. Sometimes you're just going to suffer and hope that something better comes along later. This is one of those times. I'm not gonna lie to you. There are no solutions or easy answers. We're in one of those bad periods of history. This is why I say that we're on the verge of a major civil war or revolution. Once you accept all of this, that's the only rational answer to end at. This video is meant to depress you, but it's also meant to provide a degree of self-reflection. I know there are millions of Toms in this world. I know the reason we don't realize that is that we put up this false ideal of what American life is that basically no one reaches. Tom's friends or even his family probably have no idea how hard his life is, and he doesn't tell them since they wouldn't help him since they're struggling themselves. Oftentimes, the greatest wisdom comes from seeing your own life from someone else's perspective. What would you tell Tom which you couldn't tell yourself? I have been in various elite
I try. People don't listen. I do try. I have the unique position of being able to tell people like myself what I should have done in some ways. I obviously don't have that many answers, but it's true. I mean, I hate to admit it, but some things that they tell you, even when you're depressed, are true. Or the only one who can pull you out of that hole is yourself. There's not going to be some girl who drops from the sky and gives you motivation to keep living. So you got to figure out something that you can do. And hopefully it works out. Hopefully you find something that you can enjoy that is worth your time.
elite circles over my life. And I've lived a bizarre life. It's hard to explain. But there was a point when I was part of a social club for talented young people run by someone who used to be part of Jake Paul's management. And another time I ran a club for influencers in Los Angeles. And I've been part of various conservative and intellectual associations. And what I found interviewing young, successful people, and these are the people who did the best, like people who are professional athletes, actresses, influencers, successful CEOs in their 20s, is everyone's life is screwed. There's no person who gets the normal life that even a loser like Homer Simpson would be expected to have in the 20th century, where of the most successful people in their 20s, they either have severe depression, lonely, dating issues, most of financial issues. And seeing what the highest achievers struggled with, I realized this is just a rigged game. And the fact that we fight each other without realizing how hard it is just so cruel, because there's no way you're going to win as a Zoomer. I hope that Tom's story has helped spark empathy and compassion, both for ourselves and others. My heart aches at the suffering we see today. I can see it all the time and everywhere. I can see it in how people walk, how they dress, how they talk, how they stand. It's so obvious. It's why I live outside the city now, because it drives me crazy when I deal with it too much. Everyone is suffering and it's so sad. Although it's important that we all do what we need to, we also need to see reality for what it is. This is an era in which we all fail compared to the Homer Simpson, John Hughes standard.
The problem is people can't accept it, or people would have to take responsibility, especially for the parts where they encourage the suffering. They try and drag other people down. There's many groups of people that exist just to share their suffering with others, you know. Especially the most mentally unstable members, who are, you know, the smallest percentage of society that continues to get catered to. Easily the most mentally ill, unstable. Suicide attempts are over 50%. But, you know, we should pander to them because, you know, eventually if we give in to all their demands, they'll stop trying to kill themselves. That is such insane, like, mega levels of copium that I can't even comprehend it. I don't even know how you could live with such an obvious lie. But I guess if you couldn't live with that lie, you wouldn't live at all, right? Instead of trying to be better, accept that you will always be the thing you were born as. You know, we can't choose our genes. We can't choose our childhood experiences. But those are who we are. You should just accept who you are. Stop pretending to be something you're not. Stop fucking trying to ruin what other people enjoy because it gives you some amount of power. I don't know if it was because you were bullied or because, like, you're just a bad person. But you actively trying to ruin things other people enjoy is just evil. I mean, this... I don't know how you can cope and say it's not evil. It's fucking evil. You're evil. So, you know, it's never a question why I dislike these people. I mean, I'm sure all of you have similar experiences. We're watching this. They won't realize it, though, because if you had self-awareness, you wouldn't try to be a woman. It's just, you wouldn't try to be a woman if you had self-awareness.
Standard that we were told we would reach, but once you realize you're playing an impossible game, either play a different game or break the game. And the way I see these things is if you knew the daily struggles of everyone around you, you would have so much more compassion for them because you would realize how hard it is. When you see our age is driving people crazy, and it's always somehow the other side who are the crazies, funny how that works, we can empathize with where it comes from. Furthermore, do you notice that Tom internalizes the blame for what is society's responsibility unto him?
See, this is always my problem with these videos. It's like you clearly, the essay you wrote, all the evidence points towards certain things in society causing the damage. And then in the conclusion you say, oh, we all have to have empathy for each other. But you literally wrote in your video, you know, this part is women's fault, this part is like the elite's fault, or boomers' fault, or all these things. You cannot just take a completely different direction with your conclusion. I'm not an idiot. I can pay attention to the facts you presented and come to a conclusion. This conclusion does not reflect the content in the video. And this is not the first video I've seen of his that is like this. You cannot again, it reminds me a little bit of Gerbert Johnson. Obviously, what if alt his? He's much more well spoken and intelligent than Gerbert Johnson, in my opinion. I wouldn't say Gerbert Johnson's an idiot. He's not an idiot, but still, like, I feel like what if alt his is obviously like an intellectual type, but him refusing to point fingers at specific issues is exactly why nothing will ever happen. Nothing will ever be solved if you can't even point to what's causing the problems in the first place. Empathy, if anything, sympathy and empathy is exactly how we got in this situation. Because, again, I don't want to be racist for no reason, but just using data, minorities have much more in-group preference than white people, right? So that doesn't always necessarily mean racism. It's kind of implied, though, that they're more racist than white people are. But they at least like each other more than they like other races, which would definitely imply racism. But whatever. Anyway, the point is, they are doing great. White people who hate themselves are doing extremely poorly in society. Gee, I wonder if there's a connection between those things. Loving everybody because we're all struggling is unironically a leftist message. I don't know if this guy sees it this way. Again, this is always my problem. Like, What If Alt His, very well read, is connected a lot of dots with the problems of society, but his conclusions are still very much like, you need to experience more bad things, get more black pilled. Eventually you will give the right message. But then again, he might also be banned because he is a big enough audience that bare minimum he'll be shadow banned, but very likely he could be banned if he says the wrong shit. So maybe on some level I get it. You're overthinking this. Leech just hired those who are cheaper. No, dude, you can't really believe that. You can't believe that. Do you know what BlackRock do you not watch this channel? BlackRock has lost over $1 trillion, trillion with a T, funding woke video games that don't sell. It's propaganda. It has nothing to do with making a profit. If you think corporations are still doing this to make a profit, you're a lefty. That's what leftists believe, and it's delusional. They have all the money. They print the money. The Federal Reserve and the people who control that, whoever they may be, print the money. The people in control of our government, money is meaningless. Fiat currency means nothing. They have all the money. This is about power. They have all the money in the world. This is not about making a profit. This is about sending a message, right? It's brainwashing. Anyway, okay. Hold on. I'll watch the last minute and a half of this. I'll read the rest of Super Chats, then I'm ending the stream. Yeah, I went until 4:16. This is the latest stream I've done in a while. I'm probably just heading straight to bed.
In mind, society does have responsibilities to us. That's so heartbreaking, but it's something we all do to differing degrees, including myself. We're all stuck in a horror movie. Not a conventional one, but we're in a dystopia in which an evil, soulless society gradually squeezes the humanity out of people until the only thing left is numb rage. Then it pits them against each other as some kind of sport, watching them gradually go insane from any lack of grounding in anything real. Growing up as a teenager,
well, a sport implies that there's no grand purpose. I mean, on some level, it is a sport in the sense that the powers that be are laughing at our misfortune and they don't see us as people, but it's definitely more than sport.
I lived mostly with my father, and he would go on business trips for a long period of time where I would take care of the cats. And one of the interesting things I found is that when I fed the cats late, they'd start fighting each other and blaming each other. And the thing that I found hilarious was it was normally just because I was doing something else and I was feeding them late out of a whim on my part, but they always blamed themselves. And that's something my father would joke about, where when the cats would fight each other, they'd be like, they're blaming globalists or the Jews or the left or the right. And that's what we do. Well, the reality is we are all fighting together against the shared suffering of the world. The thing is that...
And where does the shared suffering of the world come from? Where does the shared suffering of the world come from? Right? What does it come from? It comes from something.
That's what would happen if people don't realize what's happening. The only way to break out of this and be free is to come to terms with all the pain and suffering, and then making the decision to go against the pattern. Once we take the weight of blaming ourselves off, we can decide that we still want to live. With that choice,
No, no, no. No. When we take the weight off ourselves, we direct ourselves toward the enemy, whoever that is. We're not like, oh, now we're all happy. Now that we don't hate ourselves, life is suddenly better. What the fuck is this conclusion? Did the feds get to this guy? I don't know. He's a fucking zoomer. Who knows? Fucking, what a feddy kind of, like, nothing answer, you know? Like, it's fucking stupid. Oh my god. This has always been my problem with this guy's videos, though. I've listened to like 4 or 5 of them at this point, and I feel like, yeah, like, the conclusion is always stupid. It's always fucking stupid. How the fuck? I mean, I know he's like 4 or 5 years younger than me, but I still don't see how how you could possibly think, like, if we all just stopped being depressed, everything would get better. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It's I don't get it. It's delusional. He himself is brainwashed. Like, he has the self-awareness to write these huge essays about how we're being conditioned by society to be, you know, useless, basically, fucking useless, and to not breed or whatever. But then, like, when it comes to conclusion, it's just like, what do you want us to do? Okay, you take the blame off yourself, and then nothing changes. That doesn't actually change anything. You have to actually do things. Never mind. This is what I'm saying. Like, fucking vid summary. Basically, I can change myself, but world's still bad. I know he didn't offer any solutions, and I know there is. He's right that there is no easy answer outside of Fed posting or saying extremely megalomaniacal dictator shit. Which is why I always talk about the Sintler shit, because, you know, at the end of the day, I could say it's a joke. It's a joke. Huh? It's definitely a joke. I would never do any bad things. But, yeah, I mean, yeah, the video is kind of just useless. I'll be honest. It was a useless video. I'm sure he put a lot of work into it, but ultimately it was useless. Unless it was purposely to demoralize people. I really don't think it did anything. Like, it didn't really do anything. Kind of a shit video. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, 90% of that video, pretty damn solid. Last 10%, oh my god, what the fuck are you doing, dude? It's like he wrote like this super depressing blackpilling video, and he's like, oh shit, if you just accept yourself, everything will be good. My god, dude, what are you fucking doing? That's retarded. But normies will eat that up. As long as you say in the end, well, the message was, be yourself. Then normies will be like, yeah, woo, good video.